Welcome to the Black Knight Nation podcast. I'm Sal Interdonado. The Black Knight Nation podcast is sponsored by Higher Echelon. Higher Echelon is a world-class consulting firm that trains employees in sports psychology secrets that drastically improve work performance. Founder Joe Ross is retired Army who played fullback for the Black Knights and also later coached the Black Knights as a fullbacks coach. And we thank Joe Ross for sponsoring this podcast. And tonight we have a special guest. We've been looking forward to this podcast for a while now. We'd like to welcome in Jon Rhattigan to the Black Knight Nation podcast. Jon, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you, Sal. I appreciate you having me.
No doubt. If you guys are listening, if you're watching on YouTube or Twitter or listening, if you have any questions or comments for Jon or I that we can answer, please feel free to send them in. And we'll start off with Jon. What's it been like I guess now you're really preparing for that preseason camp, right? Your first preseason camp in the NFL. And what are some of the things that you're doing to get ready for the Seahawks camp coming up? Is it a lot of mental stuff, or what are you focusing on?
I think I've definitely, worked on both mental and physical health. Obviously, your mental health is huge. I mean, you see a lot of stuff with athletics these days, and certainly in the professional sports world, it's hard to kind of keep a good balance. But, since being a West Point graduate and being out in Seattle for the month that I was out there for mini camp and whatnot, I've just been hitting it hard and training physically because that's going to be huge for me coming here back to Seattle for training camp. And I've been getting myself right as best I can, and at the same time enjoying myself and enjoying the time that I've had off, trying to celebrate, the fact that I'm now a West Point graduate. I'm so thankful for that, and thankful for the academy. And then at the same time, I'm a Seattle Seahawk, and I'm very proud to say that. So, I've been doing the best that I can, being a good teammate, and training hard physically to show up in Seattle and be ready to go.
I was thinking that, the Black Knights are going to open camp in 2 weeks, preseason camp. I was thinking if we could flash back a year ago, right? You were getting ready for your senior year at Army. And I'm trying to think back then, Jon, did you know what position kind of were you in back then? Were you in a position where you were going to kind of be battling for a spot, or did you think that you were going to, obviously, with Jeff Monken, you have to work for everything, but what was your mindset like a year ago, would you say?
I would say my mindset was really similar to what it is now. I definitely, I had a lot to prove still. My career, the first 3 years wasn't really, what I had completely wanted, but it's not really about that. It's the fact that things ended the way that they did. And going into camp last year, I was ready to prove myself to our new defensive coaching staff, and certainly to Coach Wood. He gave us a great opportunity, all of our linebackers, starting June 1st when we got back, early June. So we worked throughout the whole summer, and we did a lot of things to, help ourselves as a linebacker group, learn the new defense. And, we had walkthroughs and a bunch of different meetings and this and that. So I was kind of in a position where I was figuring out the defense, and, I was ready to play football again, because we didn't really know what to expect in terms of the season last year, obviously. But, just the way Coach Monken runs the program and everyone involved in the program, I knew, if anything was, if there was a game that was going to be played, it was Army-Navy, right? And so either way, we were prepared like we were going to have a 12-game season, which we obviously did. And, at this time last year, I was set on proving myself, but I was really just competing with myself to become the best player that I can be. And I'm still doing that today.
It's kind of like the correlations, right? It's just, I was going to ask you what maybe you might have learned at West Point that is going to help you in the NFL. But it seems like just from talking to you right there, there's probably and talking to guys like Cole Christensen and Elijah Riley, there's a lot that you can take from West Point, not just football, but even like, being a cadet and, ultimately an officer, right? That you can take into your journey now as an NFL player.
Yeah, 100%. And that's why I'm so thankful, like I said, to be a West Point graduate. It's such a blessing, and I'm so thankful for the academy and everything that I learned along the way. And I think our football program in itself too, there's a lot that, helped me develop into who I am today. And I'm certainly, I brought that with me to Seattle the past, month I was out there, and I'm going to do it again when I show up for training camp because, that place really molded me into who I am today. And, it's helped me with valuable lessons in leadership, and just being a good man. And, there's a strong correlation between being a football player and being a soldier. And I think that's why, Coach Monken has really turned the program around. He kind of connected that, and he showed everyone what that is. So, yeah, I mean, it feels great, like I said, to be a West Point graduate. And I think the valuable lessons that I learned throughout the years have really helped me to become the football player that I am today.
Can you walk us through like what the first day was like for you when you got to Seattle? And, just early when I'm following like the rookie mini camp, so to speak, and you see that like Pete Carroll's being asked questions about you, and the answers that Pete Carroll has is almost like what you're saying, the discipline that comes from West Point. He kind of knows the character of the player that he's getting in you. What was that kind of like, just your first days as a Seattle Seahawks, so to speak?
Yeah, I mean, as you mentioned, it's pretty cool to hear it from someone like Pete Carroll. Coach Carroll, he's a legend in the football world, and it's a blessing to hear that those words from his mouth, and it's reassuring just to know that the past 4 years and everything that I did, it's displayed, and I do the best to display that at a high level, and because I'm not just representing myself, it's about West Point, it's about the Army, and certainly it's about all the guys that I played with for the past 4 years. So, it's truly humbling though to be out there and to be around some of the greats like Pete Carroll.
How about when you're maybe in rookie mini camp, or maybe like after that, the activities with the team? I mean, is there anybody that you kind of like lean on a little bit, or anybody to you look up to and say, wow, I'm not now here and I can maybe work, just learn a few things from this guy? I mean, is there anybody that you kind of followed, so to speak, when you got to Seattle?
Yeah, no doubt. And, I think an easy name to mention is Bobby Wagner. He's obviously, he's a legendary NFL linebacker. He's, for the past decade, he's been the man in Seattle, and, we're playing the same position now. So he's a great guy to lean on. He's a great teammate, player, leader. He's the guy that you want in the locker room, and that's why Seattle's had him there for so long. So certainly, Bobby Wagner's helpful, and really everyone in the linebacker room. And, I couldn't give enough thanks to John Glenn. He's the linebacker coach for us in Seattle, and Ken Norton, our defensive coordinator. So when I first got out there, going back to the last, question you asked, it was just the rookies that were there. Our veterans decided to kind of enjoy the off season and work on them by themselves. They're professionals, and so they did everything by themselves while the rookies were there for 3 weeks, about a month. And then the veterans came back for that last about week and a half, 2 weeks that I was out there. And, our coaching staff, everything that they have going in Seattle is truly amazing. It's a great organization with great coaches and staff and faculty, just everyone in the building from, the top down to, whoever's serving us food in the cafeteria. Things were great. And I think people they really respect West Point and the Army. And so I felt very respected going in, and I feel very respected. I'm excited to get back there because it's such a great organization. So we've got a great linebacker room, a great group of guys, and we've got great coaches as well. So I've definitely leaned on John Glenn. He's done a great job introducing the rookies and just showing us the ropes and introducing us to the NFL. So John Glenn, give him a shout out, and Bobby Wagner.
Absolutely. I guess maybe circle back to before you signed with Seattle, the interest that you had from the NFL teams. And, I know there was maybe a chance of maybe potentially even getting drafted. Was Seattle a team that you really had in your mind, or maybe on a list that you said, hey, if these guys become interested in me, it's somewhere I wanted to go? Did you have any interaction with them before, maybe the draft or during that time, that period of signing as a free agent?
Yeah, no doubt. I was always really excited about Seattle. They were that was the first team that I Zoomed with. So I talked to John Glenn and Ken Norton, the D coordinator and linebacker coach, pretty early on in the process. And, they were interested in me and obviously what they've got going on. As I mentioned, it's a great organization. So, it's a winning culture. It's a winning team out there. And I was very excited after talking with Seattle early on. They had been very upfront about everything. They said, look, we've got 3 draft picks this year. And, we like you as a draft pick in the 6th round, but just know if that doesn't end up happening, you're still going to be one of the top guys that we want. And come draft day 3, which is when, if anything, I was anticipating getting drafted. They traded up. They got Stone Forsythe. He's a O-lineman from Florida. And as soon as that happened, John Glenn, our linebacker coach, he texted me and he said, hey, man, can I give you a call? Talked to him a little bit, and he just said, look, if you don't go here in the 7th round, just know you're still our guy. We really want you. We're really interested in you and love what you got on tape, all this and that. And so that was really reassuring. And, I think going into the draft, you definitely got to have a plan for free agency in my position. And Seattle was certainly at the top of the list just because they showed interest and they needed linebackers at the time. And it's a great organization. So I couldn't be more thankful for how things turned out.
Yeah, when you look at the Seahawks, right? I mean, it seems like when you're in the Seahawks organization, there's really one goal in mind, is that Super Bowl, right? I mean, they've been there before. They're right up there in the NFC West every year. It's the NFC West. I'm a Cardinals fan. That's a really competitive division, John. You got yourself into right there, right? With the
no doubt.
there's no days off with the Rams and the 49ers and the Seahawks and the Cardinals. I mean, just what do you think about just the fact that, how much they want you to feel wanted like that, and to have your film really show the kind of player you are? And it's not, I don't think it's sometimes so much, maybe the physical side, maybe, the playmaking, but just where it seemed like when you were playing linebacker for Army, it seemed like sometimes you might even know the game plans of the opponent sometimes, because you always seem to be in the right place at the right time. And maybe that IQ also helps you. Do you think that IQ also helps you at the next level?
Yeah, it does, certainly. And that's why teams were, I think, so interested in me, especially having just 1 year as a starter under my belt. And the first thing that pops in my mind is just Coach Wood and Coach Woody, our coaching staff in general, and everything that they brought to the table this past year, because it really helped me take my game to the next level. And, it's still doing that. I still talk to Coach Wood to this day. Obviously, I'm not too far removed, but, we both got other things going on, and we still make time for each other because he's just that kind of guy. He was a great linebacker coach for me, and I only had him for a year, but I'm so thankful for everything that he taught me. And I think going into every game, this past season, that's exactly what we try to do. We try to know a lot more than just what we were doing. It was figuring out offenses and figuring out what's going to come on this play, because that's kind of the next step in football. And, being able to do that this past year has really helped me when I did go out to Seattle from mid-May to mid-June, and it'll help me certainly when I get to training camp. I've been watching film for the past month, and that's kind of what I focus on now is anticipating offenses and being able to know what's coming, because that part of football IQ is what helps take the game to the next level, and that's what's going to allow me to make it in the NFL.
No doubt. I know when Elijah Riley signed with the Eagles, Coach Munkin talked about, hey, he's going to be able to get a chance to play pretty much his first year because of special teams, right? And you had that background too, so that's got to be helpful also when you're looking to get as you look to get a chance to get on the field, right? That special teams background, that you're a guy who's going to feel comfortable, running down and covering kicks or doing whatever you have to do, because that's what you did at West Point until your senior year, right?
Yeah, no doubt about it. I feel very comfortable with my special teams background and with my ability to play special teams at the next level, because as you mentioned, that's what it took for me to get on the field at West Point. And to be honest, that's what it's going to take for me to get on the field in the NFL. So, I'm certainly excited to get after it in the preseason, and special teams is going to be a huge factor in my career in the NFL. And I'm more than happy to do it because, it's a fun part of the game, and it's a good way to get on the field.
No doubt. If you have any questions for Jon or I, or if you have any comments, please feel free to post them and we'll answer. Here we go. Jon, I promised you. I promised you Markel Broughton's mom was going to be here tonight, and there she is.
Love that. Love that.
Putting up the black flag. I was going to ask you maybe something just about the jersey number that you got for the Seahawks. I don't know, as a rookie, if you probably get a pick of it, but being 59, how did that come about, and is there any significance to that number for you?
Certainly don't get to choose. So that's what they gave me, and that's what I'll wear proudly. I've never really been much of a guy that cares too much about his jersey number. They gave me 47 at West Point, and I wore 47 for 4 years. If I got 47 in Seattle, it would have been cool. But I certainly, don't have too much of a preference. I think 59 is a great linebacker number. And I've always been a big fan of Luke Kuechly. I thought he was an amazing linebacker, during his 8-year career, and that's what he wore. So, I'm just thankful that I got a number, and I'm a Seattle Seahawk right now.
I guess growing up in Illinois, were the Bears your team or no?
I would root for the Bears, no doubt. I like the Steelers. My dad's from Pittsburgh, so I always like the Steelers too. But I mean, when I was a kid growing up, I had a big Brian Urlacher poster on the wall. I love Brian Urlacher. Lance Briggs, 55. They were all, they had a great defense for a good amount of years. So I was a solid Bears fan, but at times they disappoint.
Gotcha. And the Steelers always used to have pretty solid linebacking cores, right? I mean, so that was something you follow. Maybe we talked about this before, but your ability to read the quarterback and stuff, I know sometimes that's like we talked about IQ and stuff. Did you get coming up when you were playing football? Is that something that you found that was easier to do, or is that something where you growing up, were you like in a secondary and then turned into a linebacker, or how did that work out where you were able to just read the quarterback's almost eyes or moves almost instantly?
That's a good question. And I've never been asked that before. So, thinking about it right now, I would say, once again, the first thing that came to mind is Coach Wood and what he had us doing, leading up to the season last year. One of our biggest drills had to do with, reading. He was obviously the quarterback for the drill, but reading the quarterback's eyes and seeing pre-snap, okay, this kid might telegraph a little bit and tell you where he's going to throw the ball. If you know where the strong side is, where they've got 3 wideouts split out, there's a good chance they're going to throw it to that side, or, knowing the different scenarios and then kind of seeing, you got to see a lot of different things, especially playing linebacker. And so if you can read the O-line really quick and see that it's going to be passed, and then boom, get your eyes to the quarterback. And I think it's just something that kind of came natural after doing this drill for so long. And the older I got, the better I got at it. And now I feel very comfortable reading the quarterback. And I think as a linebacker, especially in a professional football game, in a professional game, you got to be good at that. And so it kind of came about, and it's certainly not going away.
Do you think that you're just scratching the surface, so to speak, as far as just total level of play to begin with? I mean, like we talked about, senior year, you got on the field, and every game it seemed like you were there to make plays. Do you think that there's a lot of still left, that like you seem like you're a guy who's just going to keep on putting his nose to the ground, keep working at it, keep on watching tape, trying to find any little thing to make you better? And it just seems like do you feel like you're still like there's a lot to get better at, and you're just kind of scratching the surface there, or not?
I think so, for sure. And this past year, I grew a lot as a football player. I grew a lot as a football player, and I grew a lot as a man. And I think there's a lot more of that to come. And as you mentioned earlier, being in the same room as a guy like Bobby Wagner, and just everyone that we've got out in Seattle, I can't wait to see where the game takes me and how I'll continue to develop, because this past year was my first year as a starter in college. And now I'm moving on to the next level. And, I want to be a starter in the NFL. And to get there, there's going to be things that I got to continue to grow at, to continue to learn. Things that, I might see as a weakness, I got to get better at those. And I got to just continue working because that's the only way you'll succeed.
We had Ross Tucker on the podcast. He does Army games on CBS Sports Network, and he was talking about recruiting at West Point and how it's gotten substantially better under Jeff Monken. And you look at now, you have 4 players that are in the NFL from Jeff Monken's recruiting, and you have 3 guys on the defensive side, and 2 linebackers. So just being a guy who came into the program under Monken, do you see that? I mean, it always seems like there's a guy. You look at guys like a Ryan Parker, right? You look at guys like a Kamante Yao, and guys who are really good players who just have to wait their turn, so to speak, because of all the depth built at linebacker and the talent. Is that something that you saw at West Point during your 4 years there? And you look at like an Eric Smith, Eric Smith. I mean, Eric Smith, I think is an NFL caliber player, no doubt, right? I mean, you played alongside him. I mean, it just seems like they keep on getting Spencer Jones too, a young guy. It just seems like the talent at linebacker at West Point is super deep.
Yeah, no doubt, and it always has been. I noticed that as soon as I got there, just how real, the guys were there, and I think, as you mentioned, Coach Monken's done a great job recruiting, and it's no secret that we've got a lot of talent at West Point, and certainly, no offense to the offensive guys, but certainly on the defense. I mean, it's proven in the numbers. Elijah Cole, myself, I think James Nottigal could still be playing in the NFL. He was a stud linebacker, just a great dude to learn from. And there's more coming. There's more on the way next year, like you said, and Eric, I think Cedric, Nolan, Malcolm. There's a lot of guys that are going to get the opportunity. And then the year after that, Marquell. There we go. There's a shout out. But there's certainly a lot of talent at West Point, and it's no secret. I mean, that's why we've been winning. And I think the best part about it is that it's not just the talent, but it's the way that it's the way that we come together and end up, playing as a team, and the different things that you learn going through West Point. That's what really helps us become not just good football players, but good men and good leaders. And as we talked about earlier, that's what Seattle, I think, was looking for, and that's what they got in me. And teams in the NFL, they'll be grateful to have more guys from service academies, and particularly West Point in the future. So no doubt.
I look at if we could talk about your former teammates now in 2021. I mean, that defense, you guys led the nation in yards allowed per game last year. And Jon, I mean, what they have coming back, I was trying to go through it in my head, and just it seems like there's a guy you can go too deep with guys who have a lot of game experience, who have made major plays in games, and guys who still haven't reached their talent level. I look Andre Carter. I mean, I look at where in Academy history do you have a 6'6", 265-pound guy playing that outside linebacker position and making an impact, right? I mean, it's crazy. You reeled off a lot of guys who have NFL potential, and you look at guys who maybe haven't reached their full potential. That Carter is a guy who, I mean, wow, I think the sky's the limit for him.
I agree completely. I was talking to Andre today. Our lockers are real close to each other. He's a great kid. He's going to be a fantastic football player, and I think this year is going to be his breakout year. He had a great game. He had some great games last year. He had some great plays, and that's only going to continue to happen. Andre Carter is no doubt, he's a beast, and he'll continue to show it because he's a hard worker and he's got a great mentality. And that not just Andre, but the whole defense, they're going to kill it this year. I'm really looking forward to watching the games, and I stay in contact with all those guys because, as I mentioned, I'm not just representing myself, and those are my guys for life. So I'm really looking forward to what they do this upcoming season because we've got a lot of guys coming back, a lot of guys that have played in a lot of games. Even a guy, think about Darian McDonald. He's an outside linebacker. He had the safety against Navy. It's things like that. Spencer Jones got the start obviously against West Virginia. There's a lot of talent coming back, and they're going to do something really special with it.
It's crazy, and they bring in the guys that they bring in as freshmen, they just announced the freshman class this week. And those guys, some of them will get on the field, maybe in a special teams role. Who knows, maybe a couple snaps on defense, but just that the talent continues to build there. And I'm like, I don't know. You look at John. I don't know if you saw. I think that they had the Commander-in-Chief's trophy. Jeff Monk and Coach Monken had his show on Facebook before we went on today. I think there's a new Commander-in-Chief's trophy maybe at West Point now. So 3 of the last 4 years, when you're part of a program that wins the Commander-in-Chief's trophy 3 of the last 4 years, right? I mean, maybe you would like a 4th probably, right? But 3 out of 4 years, it doesn't get any better than that, right?
Yeah, no doubt. And I remember my first year, obviously the goal is to go 8-8 against Air Force and Navy combined. You fall short sometimes. I appreciate you. You fall short sometimes. We lost certainly that 2019 game against Navy was not what we wanted, and that season overall was not really representative of who we were as people and our program in general. But winning the CIC for 3 years it's truly so special, and I couldn't be more thankful, as I mentioned, just to be a part of the football program there and to have gone through 4 years, because it was not always easy, but it certainly was always rewarding.
Yeah, maybe if the freshman class that's coming in, maybe can you give them any advice maybe on maybe that first year, or maybe advice on just like you said, there'll be some tough days, but usually, those Saturdays are usually really good ones at West Point, usually, and this year with fans back, going to be really good ones at Mikey Stadium, right? So maybe that's something. Can you give them any advice?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I'm sure those guys don't have their phones right now, but when they do and they watch this, and anyone getting recruited or anyone that's on that wants to understand, it's a lot. It's about a lot more than yourself. So when you go through the program, it's not. Those wins were so special because it was the whole team. It takes a whole team to do what we did for the past 4 years and what they're going to continue to do. So it's truly just a blessing to win as a team and to be a part of something much bigger than yourself. And that's not just as a part of the football program, but as a cadet at West Point and certainly as a soldier in the Army. There's a lot of hard days. There's a lot of days, camp is coming up. Camp is going to be hard for everyone, even, the best players, even Coach Monken and every coach on staff. It's a lot of football. It's a lot of long days, and there's so much work that's involved, but that's what makes all the winning so sweet. And it's all worth it in the end because, I still talk to these guys every day, and I'm thankful that I'm done, but a part of me always thinks, if I could go back, I'd love to go through another day of workouts and just hanging out with the guys, because there's something so special there. And being a cadet at West Point and certainly being on the football team, there's just something so special about it. And the winning is just a little cherry on top.
Yeah, we had Ryan England on the podcast last week, and he talked about how, once his 5 years of active duty is over, he wants to be a college football coach. And he got a chance to coach at the prep school after graduation. And I know, John, you have an NFL career to go through, right? But, I mean, do you think that you mentioned about maybe wanting to go back maybe? Do you see that maybe as a possibility down the road, or is it too early to say maybe that you like to keep football in your life even after what happens in the NFL?
I wouldn't say it's too early, and I certainly wouldn't put it past myself. I think Ryan England, since he got to coach at prep school, those guys, everyone that's done that, everyone that's been an AI in the program and just kind of helped develop the younger guys that are coming through, they've seemed to love it. I've heard nothing but good things. And I know if I got that experience, I'd probably feel exactly the same way. So it's not the first thing on my mind. I have no clue what's going to happen down the road, and I'm taking things day by day, just trying to make the most out of my NFL career. But football is obviously a game that like I said, it requires a lot of hard work, and that's on the coaching and the playing side. And I certainly want to put it past myself, maybe a Coach Rhattigan down the road, who knows? And it depends, now that the football world is just such a big connection, there's so many different people. Nolan's mom. Thank
You
you.
got Nolan Cockrell's mom chiming in here
Yeah,
too.
yeah. But yeah, no, I certainly wouldn't put it past myself. I think it's just special, what football can do for people, and I could see that as a possibility down the road.
Yeah, I mean, you look at you said you've been saying through this podcast, this is an opportunity. This is an opportunity that not everybody gets, right? So you're going to put everything into it that you have, and just getting to know you these last few years. I mean, that's what made you the player that you are today, right? So I mean, it's not like you're changing anything too much. You're maybe you're amping it up a little bit, right?
Right, no doubt about it. And once I'm done, once my time is over with football, because everyone's career comes to an end at some point. That is the thing about coaching that is so enticing. I feel like is the opportunity to give back and develop younger guys. And I try to do that as much as I can, just with our guys at West Point right now. So that's why I leave that door open and always consider being a football coach, because there's something really special about the game and what it can do for people.
Absolutely. I was going to ask you about your time in Seattle, and Seattle is always a city that I wanted to visit. I grew up a Seattle Mariners fan, believe it or not. Ken Griffey Jr. It's always a city that I always wanted to get a chance to see. What was it like there when you were up there for like rookie camp and working out?
It was great. I mean, the weather's beautiful this time of year, so might have been a couple rainy days, certainly less than I can count on my hand. And the weather was beautiful. The facilities that we practice in, the Seattle Seahawks, hands down, got to have the best facilities in the NFL. So thankful just to be out there and working out in the weight room that we have, on the field that we have. It's right on Lake Washington, and it's beautiful out there. I didn't have too much of an opportunity to go out and enjoy the city life too much or whatnot, because to be honest, we were there for football. It was pretty much a job interview, and it still is once I get to training camp. And I'm going to do the best that I can to ace the interview, because it's a nice city and it's certainly a great place to be. And I'm a huge outdoors guy, so being in the Pacific Northwest, it's a pretty cool spot for the outdoors. And I was happy when I was out there. It's a cool place to be.
What's the interaction been like with the Seattle fan base? Because they're some of the most passionate fans in the NFL, no doubt.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, there's like 12s. So 12s is the big thing in Seattle. So they'll have 12 painted in blue and white. If you just drive past different buildings out there, anywhere in the Seattle area, it's painted on buildings. People are always wearing Seahawks shirts. I saw a couple people, more than one, with a Seahawks tattoo. Maybe on the calf or on the forearm. I saw it a couple times. It was pretty cool. But they definitely, it's passionate. It's a passionate fan base, and they've been great to me personally. I signed early May. A lot of social media interactions, and I tried to get back because being connected with the fan base, especially a fan base as good as Seattle Seahawks, is pretty important. So it's a cool city to represent, and I'm thankful to be out there.
That's something that you embraced at Army, right? With fans too, and the nickname Johnny Nation. It's something that you really you embraced. You enjoyed that, right? I mean, it's something that, like, if you can get back a little bit to the Army fan base, that's something that you like to do, right?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I think it goes back to when we talked about coaching and just what football can do for people. It's about more than just the players and the coaches, and it's that's why fans are honestly a pretty critical part to the game. And that's why it's so cool just to be a Seattle Seahawk and to have been a West Point football player, because who we represent and what we represent is so special. So anyone that was supportive of me throughout my time there, I was just very thankful for that, and I always try to give back, because it's about a lot more than yourself.
No doubt. You look at Markel's mom. She'll be screaming it on Sundays. Maybe she'll be screaming on Sundays. So.
Yeah, catch some games.
Absolutely. Just kind of to wrap this up a little bit. What's up next for you? I know you said you're going to go back there very soon. What's up next for you, and how much are you looking forward to again, like getting a chance to prove yourself and win a spot with the Seahawks?
Yeah, I'm so excited just to continue playing football. It's truly a blessing. So we've got training camp starting on the 27th. We'll have 3 preseason games starting. First one's August 14th, playing at Las Vegas, and then I believe we're home against the Broncos and home against the Chargers. And so the Chargers, it'll be cool to connect with Cole. We've been in contact about that. So yeah, I mean, I'm just looking forward to proving myself, as you mentioned, and continue playing football. It's a blessing, and continuing to better myself as a football player, because that's going to be really important here for me in the next couple weeks. So take my game to the next level and continue to prove myself and who I am as a leader, as a man, as a teammate. And, I couldn't be more excited to get to work.
Absolutely. Jon, you've been one of my favorite players to follow their journey through West Point and now getting a chance in the NFL. Always a stand-up guy. Always just really, really great with your time, and we really appreciate you hopping on tonight. Guys, if you want to this will be up on YouTube, and we're on all the podcast platforms. You can find us on Apple, Spotify. I forget all the platforms we're on, Jon. Sometimes I just throw Apple and Spotify on there. But really appreciate you coming on and spending some time with us, and we wish you all the best coming up in Seattle in your NFL career. We really, again, we can't be more thankful for your time tonight.
Thank you, Sal. Really appreciate you having me on. Continue to be great. We love the podcast. So thank you to everybody watching. Appreciate you tuning in.